Salehi reiterates Iran's rejection of foreign intervention in Syria's internal affairs, expressing readiness to contribute to a political solution to the crisis. Russia and China renewed calls on Syrian opposition to stop violence immediately. Participants in the Levant Islamic Scholars Conference in support of Al-Quds affirmed that the Arab and international silence towards what's taking place in Jerusalem is like taking part in the crime. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our news for today. Iranian Foreign Minister Ali Akbar Salehi has reiterated his country's rejection of any foreign intervention in Syria's internal affairs, calling on all parties to express good intention regarding the implementation of Kofi Annan's plan. In a joint press conference with Annan in Tehran, Salehi said Iran believed in the right of the Syrian people to enjoy the freedom of establishing political parties, holding free elections, and having a constitution that meets their aspirations. On his part, Annan said he agreed with Salehi on the need to find a peaceful solution to the crisis and that it was very important to reach a way to end the violence in Syria. He referred to the importance of humanitarian assistance to those who need it as soon as possible and to convince the various sides to sit at the negotiating table. Annan added that the political process should be Syrian and should respect the aspirations of the Syrian people. He referred to many governments working together and with the Syrian people to find a solution to the current crisis. Annan said the Syrian government had clarifications on whether the opposition forces would stop the acts of killing so that an end can be put to all kinds of violence and respect for a ceasefire is guaranteed. A reply to a question on arms supplies being provided by Saudi Arabia and Qatar to the armed groups, Annan said any political, rather additional militarization of the situation in Syria would be catastrophic. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Gennady Gatilov has called on the Syrian opposition to stop the violence, adding that the Syrian government has officially declared readiness to start dialogue with the opposition. In a statement to the Russia Today satellite channel, Gatilov said the Syrian leadership enjoyed the support of the majority of the Syrian people, and the problem is with the opposition itself, which is fragmented and not united. Gatilov expressed his country's readiness to negotiate with all the representatives of the Syrian opposition, whether inside or outside Syria. Yet many politicians point out, he added that it is hard to specify with whom the dialogue must be conducted. The Russian Deputy Foreign Minister said Russia was in touch with the Syrian opposition abroad, yet no meetings were held with its representatives in Moscow. China has reiterated its call on all parties in Syria to be committed to a ceasefire. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Liu Weimin said his country calls on the Syrian government to implement Annan's six-point plan and on the opposition to observe an immediate ceasefire. The scholars of the Levant Conference to support Al-Quds called upon Arab and Islamic figures to confront the Syrian Zionist practices to Jewadize Jerusalem and destroy Al-Aqsa Mosque, calling upon Arab and Islamic media to expose these practices. Concluding the activities of the conference, the participants stressed that the Arab and international silence towards what's taking place in Jerusalem is a participation in the crime. The participants underscored rejection of terrorism and the need for differentiation between it and the legitimate resistance, calling for exposing the Zionist crimes against the Palestinian people. They called upon the scholars in the Arab and Islamic nations to revive the culture of resistance among their people in order to defend rights and the holy sacred places. The final statement stressed the importance of unity and rejection of sedition, warning against the instigative calls of some satellite channels that stoke sectarian sedition to fragment the nation. The participants agreed to form a union for Levant scholars and elected Sheikh Mohammed Ramadan Saeed Al-Bouti as head of the union. Al Jazeera has become definitely associated with lies and fabrications ever since it distorted facts and relied on suspicious sources to serve its political agenda against Syria.
أصبح مسيلمة الكذاب يعني لعب أولاد.
The host of Al Jazeera's television program, Faisal Qasim, has proved that he is the master of all the lies. This person claims that he never heard of Zainab al-Hamsi, but now how could he ignore the facts?
فأنا الآن أمامي صورة زينب الحسني، هذه الفتاة التي تصدق الإعلام السوري، لأنك أنت يا أستاذ فيصل قاسم قمت بحلقة كاملة في الاتجاه المعاكس ونعيتها وحرقتها وشيعتها، ثم عادت لتظهر عبر التلفزيون العربي السوري.
غير صحيح طبعا.
لا ما
غير صحيح طبعا. لم نجري أي حلقة عنها.
ولا مشيع.
لم نقدم عنها أي حلقة.
إذا أردنا يا أستاذ عقاب
لم نقدم عنها أي حلقة.
لم نقدم عنها أي حلقة.
We ask our viewers to look at these pictures, which date back to the 26th of November 2011, which prove that this person, Faisal Qasim, is simply telling lies. However, this liar goes on to spread lies about the Syrian media, but lacks the credibility, as the channel that he is working for has proven, time and time again, its hatred towards the Syrian people. He insists upon telling lies that show the lack of reliability and honesty, being himself involved in a hostile policy against Syria.
نعم يصدق الإعلام السوري الكثير. أول هؤلاء زينب الحسني التي رفعت لك صورتها والتي شيعتها أنت في برنامجك.
لم أشيعها ولا سامع عنها ولا حكيت عنها بعمري.
However, we assure our viewers that the Syrian people have been the first to expose Al Jazeera's lies and fabrications, as they no longer trust its coverage of the events, being itself involved in the shedding of the Syrian blood.
An armed terrorist group assassinated this morning Brigadier Jamal Khalid. They shot him dead while he was on his way to work in Aqraba district in Damascus suburbs. According to SANA's correspondent, the terrorists targeted the Brigadier car at 8 a.m., killing him and his driver, Private Jnaid Hussein Al-Mahmoud. The martyr was a father of 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. Finally, the Lebanese military court's public prosecutor, Judge Sakr, has filed a lawsuit against 4 people, including a Syrian, held on charges of weapons trading and smuggling into Syria. The Lebanese army had yesterday arrested 3 people, including a woman in Ali, on charges of arms smuggling into Syria. With this, we conclude our news bulletin for today. For more information about Syria and the region, you can visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Up next, the latest business